a secret they were never meant to hear, began with a knock that never got answered. In 1665, Oxfordshire, England, the air was heavy, almost aware. The kind of stillness you don't find in nature, because it wasn't natural. The Higgins family, Thomas, Eleanor, and their 2 children, were there, until they weren't. One cold morning, the milkman approached their farmhouse, bottles from yesterday still untouched, door ajar. Silence inside, not even a dog's bark. He stepped in. What he saw, or more precisely what he didn't, sparked a mystery the government quietly buried. No signs of struggle, no bodies, no blood, no belongings missing. Beds unslept, food on the table, one record still spinning. Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday. That wasn't random. That was a message. They didn't vanish. They were extracted. And just like that, the village went mute. Neighbors refused to speak of it. Local police sealed files. And when a young journalist tried to uncover what happened, he was found days later. Shoes missing, tongue removed, face frozen in horror. The official cause of death? Exposure. But exposure to what? There's a phrase, patterned silence. It's when a whole community forgets at the same time. Manufactured amnesia, psychological suppression, not by chance, by design. You're not here to be entertained. You're here because something inside you knows. The story isn't just about a missing family. It's about the system behind the curtain. The institutions that tell you what's real, while hiding what isn't supposed to exist. This is your first descent, and you won't come back the same. We begin with the Higgins, but this goes deeper than you can imagine. Breathe deep. Your awareness is no longer yours alone. Sunday. But paper lies. Thomas Higgins worked in agricultural mapping, a harmless-sounding job. But the files show something else. He'd been seconded, quietly, to a government pilot program, one designed to test satellite-based land surveillance. Back in 1965, before GPS was even public knowledge, Eleanor Higgins, too, a schoolteacher by title. But she was trained in linguistics, rare dialects, even Proto-Celtic. Why would a village teacher need fluency in ancient dead tongues? You see the edges now, don't you? This family wasn't taken because they were nobodies. They were something. They knew something. And when the wrong knowledge touches the wrong minds, they disappear. But here's what they didn't expect. They didn't expect someone to keep watching the house for years. In 1971, an anonymous field agent filed a report. Movement inside Higgins' property. No electricity connected. Yet lights flicker at 3:12 a.m., same night, same week, each month. High-pitched frequency heard. Local wildlife avoids perimeter. Request permission to enter. Permission was denied. So he went in anyway. He left a cassette tape, encoded in what was believed to be white noise. When filtered, you hear a woman's voice whispering just one sentence: "We are below." This wasn't an abduction. It wasn't random. It was containment. They didn't kill the Higgins. They sealed them in. Where? Why? If you've made it this far, you're either one of two things: for erasing a sleeper waiting to be reactivated, or someone they didn't plan on surviving the algorithm. Either way, you're awake now. So let's talk about Silo, not the farming kind, not the nuclear kind. This isn't a place, it's a protocol. Silo stands for Secure Isolation of Living Organisms, a contingency created during the Cold War, when spies, scientists, or civilians encountered things that couldn't be explained or allowed to leak. They weren't eliminated. They were quarantined. Mentally, physically, spatially. The protocol involved creating containment sites, disguised as abandoned military installations, psychiatric facilities, or disused mines. Now get this. Just 18 miles from the Higgins residence, under the cover of Wychwood Forest, lies an overgrown, fenced-off site listed only as MOD Research Annex 9B. Locals call it the Throat. Why? Because birds won't fly over it. Because compasses spin near it. Because children from nearby villages report hearing a piano playing from underground when the wind dies. And in 1996, when a team of urban explorers entered the outer ruins, one of them wrote this in his notebook before going permanently off-grid. Steel door labeled Silo 3. Inside, cold, wet, smelled like rot and ozone. Found Higgins' family portrait nailed to the wall, eyes scratched out. But here's the thing. There were 5 people in the photo. Wait, 5? There were only 4 Higgins. Father, mother, 2 kids. So who was the 5th? That's when this stops being a disappearance and becomes an experiment. One that's still running, possibly growing. The Higgins family was well documented. Public school records, tax filings, parish attendance. 4 people, always, consistent. But the photograph found in Silo 3, that wasn't public, that was personal. And someone, or something, was in it who never should have existed. Let's examine the photo, as described by the explorer who saw it. Thomas and Eleanor, standing close. 2 children in front, Emily and Samuel. And between them all, a tall figure. Too tall, thin, expressionless. Hands clasped in front, but with 6 fingers on each hand. Wearing something that looked like a child's school uniform, but backwards. And no shoes. He wrote one final note under the sketch. Face blurred, not by the photo, but by the eye. Like my brain won't let me see it. Here's the thing. This 5th figure matches no known individual in British census, parish, or intelligence records. Yet, get this. In a 1964 school attendance logbook, tucked in the back pages of Shipton under Wychwood Primary, the headmaster scrawled a single, out-of-place entry. Higgins, D. Present, September 2nd to 5th only. There's no birth record, no enrollment form. The name was never typed, only handwritten, and in ink, unlike any other in the register. Now, here's where the air gets thin. The day after Higgins D was marked present, Samuel Higgins was sent home for complaining of the boy who stares at night. He said the boy didn't talk, didn't blink, just stood at the foot of his bed. His exact words, he wants to be part of the family. That was the last week they were ever seen again. What was D? A child, a clone, a summoned entity, an echo of something summoned by linguistic patterning Eleanor was researching. Or worse, a container for something that came through. In psychological warfare circles, there's a tactic called introduction of the 5th, the insertion of an unfamily, or presence into a known group to destabilize reality. But this wasn't psychological. This was ritual, deliberate, and it worked. When investigators finally breached the Higgins farmhouse in 1967 under cover of a maintenance inspection, the house was silent, unsettlingly so. Dust undisturbed, clock frozen at 3:12 a.m. But beneath the floorboards of the master bedroom, they found something that was never reported to the press. A circle, carved into the wooden subfloor. Not chalk, not ink, burned in precisely like a brand. It matched no known occult symbols. But when mirrored, it resembled the Neolithic spiral glyphs found in Ireland's Newgrange tombs, ancient pre-Celtic markings believed to depict paths of passage. At the center of this circle, a single item, Eleanor's final notebook. Pages warped by dampness, smudged by ash. But a few entries remained legible. Notebook entry, August 29th, 1965. He speaks through Emily now, but the voice is not hers. It's older, not angry, just waiting. Notebook entry, August 31st, 1965. I saw it tonight, in the mirror. Not behind me, not beside me, inside me. Thomas says I haven't been sleeping, but I haven't blinked since Friday. Notebook entry, September 3rd, 1965, last page. We performed the welcome. The fifth stands in the circle now. It doesn't speak, but I understand. He is not here to harm. He is here to remember, to hold what we shouldn't have found, until the time is right. We're not missing. We're being kept. This wasn't madness. It was a transaction. A family, 4 vessels, offered in exchange for something ancient, pre-linguistic, something that wanted to wear form again. Eleanor opened a path using language no longer spoken aloud. Proto-Celtic? Possibly. But deeper, phonemes tied to geomagnetic harmonics, vocal resonances that aligned with the ley lines beneath Wychwood. Remember, she studied rare dialects. She wasn't decoding old words. She was reactivating them. And now, the farmhouse itself is sealed. Not sold, not demolished, just left. As if everyone involved agreed, whatever's inside still listens. By late September 1965, 3 internal memos had circulated between Blackhall, MI5, and the Ministry of Defense. Each memo referenced a code name, Fogmouth. The operation's primary objective was simple: seal all narrative paths, eliminate all associative memory, redirect public inquiry through fabricated subplots. It wasn't just about silencing the story. It was about corrupting the memory of the Higgins family before it had time to take root in public consciousness. Phase 1. Narrative redirection. A week after the disappearance, 2 tabloid stories ran in regional papers. Father of 4 flees after secret affair. Witchcraft circle suspected in missing family case. Both were false, both planted by Blackhall agents. The first to create shame, the second to draw ridicule. But the third article never made print. It was pulled at 3:00 a.m. the night before release. Children whisper other boy came from the trees. Draft headline Oxfordshire Gazette, Sept 11, 1965. The journalist who submitted it, Elaine Moorcroft, resigned within 48 hours. She left a single line in her resignation letter. You don't get to unsee what looks back. She vanished 6 months later. Phase 2. Record contamination. When deletion isn't possible, confusion is weaponized. Internal Blackhall training note, public records were overwritten. Birth certificates replaced with altered versions stating the Higgins family moved to Sheffield in mid-August. Utility bills, digitally backdated to show the farmhouse inactive since 1964. School logs. Emily and Samuel's entries were replaced with new names, Rachel Green and Timothy Houghton, neither of whom ever existed. Even maps of the region were redrawn. In a 1967 Ordnance Survey update, the road to the Higgins home was removed entirely, as if the land itself wasn't meant to be walked again. Phase 3. Population. Dampening. This is where things turn cold. Local villagers who persisted in asking questions were offered psychological counseling. Blackhall documentation confirms at least 12 residents were subjected to early experimental treatments using electroconvulsive therapy, benzodiazepine flooding, and in some cases, sleep protocol isolation, 96-hour memory strip cycles. One man, Walter Harrow, 62, was institutionalized after repeatedly claiming he saw a 5th child dragging itself across the Higgins roof at night. His final recorded statement, scribbled in pencil: "The boy has too many teeth, and none of them are his." So ask yourself, why not just kill the story? Why so much effort to bend it, twist it, rot it? Because the truth was contagious. Because if people knew what the Higgins encountered, they might try to reach it too. And that couldn't be allowed. 12 days after the Higgins family vanished, Blackhall dispatched a covert 3-man recovery unit to re-enter the farmhouse. They were under strict instruction: do not remain on the property past nightfall. Do not attempt communication with residual vocal anomalies. If found, retrieve all analog recording devices immediately. What they recovered was small, unremarkable to the untrained eye. A children's cassette tape recorder, Fisher-Price model, blue handle, red buttons, slight scorch marks around the speaker. The tape inside, half unspooled, smelled faintly of mold and lavender. They tagged it: Artifact number H17. Subject: Emily Higgins. The audio was catalogued, then sealed. But in 1982, a leak emerged. A single rip of the tape, labeled WIC Floor B, was uploaded to an underground acoustic archive known as the 7th Channel. What you're about to hear is the declassified transcript, a word-for-word breakdown of the final 1 minute, 41 seconds of the tape. WIC Floor B. Emily's tape. Background hiss. Soft dragging sound. Child's voice begins to sing. Off-key, hesitant. Emily, singing, low. Under the floor, the boy is cold. He doesn't blink. He isn't old. He hums a song I didn't learn, and whispers that it's now his turn. Long silence. A creak. Possibly a door closing slowly. Emily, speaking, whispering. He says Mummy brought him here. He came from under the words. Not a place. Pause. He has more fingers today. Low-frequency hum begins, inaudible to the human ear unless slowed. Analyses later showed layered subsonic pulses, matching geothermal resonance patterns found near ancient burial mounds. Emily, barely audible. He wants me to wear his smile. He says it fits now. Pause. Daddy's eyes are backwards. Then, a sound. Impossible to describe. Not growling, not breathing. An arrhythmic ticking, like bones cracking in sequence. Then a final whisper. Not Emily's voice. Unknown, whispers in a non-English tongue. Faith an avalin, dol am en. Translation attempts failed. Closest linguistic match appears in reconstructed Druidic fragments found at Bryn Celli Dudu, Wales, meaning, loosely, "We are returned. The passage is open." Then, static. The tape ends. Analysts confirmed 2 disturbing facts. The cassette wasn't powered. Batteries had corroded completely. The recording was not just auditory. It left magnetic anomalies in nearby compasses up to 2 meters away. Whatever the boy was, he left an imprint. Not on the house, on the signal. Emily's voice hasn't been heard since. But that phrase, Faitha Navalin, would later appear carved into 4 separate stones across Wychwood Forest between 1971 and 1974. Each stone found in a perfect circle, half buried and warm to the touch, even in snow. The Higgins family wasn't chosen at random. They were geographically engineered, planted like instruments, placed in perfect resonance with something older than nation, language, or time. Enter the Wychwood resonance map. What is it? In 1964, 6 months before the Higgins disappearance, Eleanor began studying ley lines, invisible currents of geomagnetic energy theorized to crisscross the Earth, connecting sacred and ancient sites. But her notes reveal something more. She believed some ley line intersections don't just carry energy, they store it. Wychwood Forest sits at one of these intersections, a point aligned with Stonehenge, southwest, Bryn Chelly Doo west, the Rollright Stones, north, and a now erased stone circle listed only as the Sleeper's Ring, located beneath where the Higgins farmhouse stands. That's no coincidence. That's placement, frequency and song. Eleanor had also been researching vocal geometric resonance, the idea that human voice, when shaped by specific phonetics, can awaken latent harmonic fields in the ground. Her lullabies, recorded with Emily, weren't just motherly affection. They were activation keys. Each verse mimicked the rhythm of chthonic wave patterns found in deep earth sonar scans. Matched in pitch and tempo, these lullabies may have triggered subterranean openings, acoustic doors, not physical ones. That strange hum on Emily's tape. It aligns almost perfectly with the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse, except this one was inverted. The 5-point map. Using Eleanor's diagrams, her notebook entries, and declassified MOD magnetic surveys from 1965, an anonymous researcher reconstructed the Wychwood resonance pentagram. At each point, a burial mound, a water source, a site of child folklore, a ghost, a nursery rhyme, a missing person, a local folk song recorded in minor harmonic dissonance, a compass anomaly, and at the center of the pattern, the Higgins farmhouse, exactly, geometrically, deliberately. So what was the point? If this was a ritual, it wasn't just about summoning, it was about rebuilding something lost. A consciousness, a memory, a being that required 5 vessels, aligned in voice, place, and bloodline. Eleanor, Thomas, Emily, Samuel, and the 5th. Whatever it wasn't born. It was reawakened. In section 9, the backwards names, who was D. Higgins, we uncover the true identity of the 5th figure in the photo. A name found only once, scrawled on a stone in a forgotten tunnel beneath Wychwood. Singid. Higgins, reversed. It wasn't a person. It was a mirror. Ready to see what stared back. Shall I continue? When D. Higgins first appeared, in the Shipton under Wychwood School logbook, authorities assumed it was a clerical error. But that was no mistake. The presence of a 5th Higgins wasn't an addition. It was a reflection. The name reversed. Higgins spelled backwards. Sing higher. But that's not what Eleanor wrote. In a heavily redacted notebook page found beneath the farmhouse, kept in Blackhall Archive Room 4D, file, reversals inversions. One word is scribbled in charcoal, sing hid, not a perfect mirror. A corrupted palindrome. An echo, altered. Linguists believe this construction resembles a form of apocryphal proto-phonemic invocation used in ancient chant rituals. The altered vowel, I for G, forms a semantic breach point, a split that invites the other. The result isn't just a name, it's an incantation, and it was meant to be spoken aloud. A hidden identity. Further investigation led to a report buried in the classified Folio Blackhall Addendum, only viewable with dual key codes from both MI5 and the Church of England. The file references an entity catalogued in 1938 by a German occult unit operating in Northumberland. Subject: codename Singhid. Form: humanoid mimic. Traits: reflects biological structure of surrounding dominant host. Known methods of arrival: vocal conduit, harmonic resonance. Primary objective: preservation of the echo. Their conclusion: this entity is not summoned, it is remembered. Where it is remembered, it reforms. Where it is named, it listens. A bloodline loop. It gets worse. Eleanor's private correspondence, letter 3B, dated March 1965, addressed to her university colleague, reveals a haunting theory. There is no record of Thomas's mother, only a midwife's note. Child appeared healthy. Arrival, rapid. No mention of a birth canal, no signed birth certificate. What if we didn't invite it? What if one of you was already it? Was D. Higgins not a guest, but a forgotten member of the family? A sleeper, a re-entry point. Something older than the family itself, wearing a child's shape until the time to be recognized. And the moment Emily began singing, the pattern completed. The mirror aligned. One final detail. On the underside of the Higgins mantelpiece, nearly missed during excavation, investigators found a child's drawing. Stick figures, 5 of them, one taller than the rest. Above the drawing in crayon, me, 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 me. Then crossed out. Rewritten underneath, we. By 1986, the Higgins case had been cold for 21 years, or rather, intentionally frozen. No public record, no physical access, no further documentation, until Blackhall authorized Operation Volt Step, a limited re-entry into the Higgins farmhouse under strict electromagnetic shielding protocols. 3 operatives were sent in. Only one came out. What they found: the house was intact, preserved, but not clean, as if dust itself had been arranged. On every shelf, the same items, undisturbed since 1965. But under a forensic ultraviolet sweep, something new appeared. Layered text, hundreds of lines, written beneath the original paint, directly on the plaster. Every wall, every room, every height, from attic to cellar, all written in the same hand. Small, repetitive, frantic. But the language? Not modern English. A blend of phonetic symbols, fragmented Old Brythonic, and mirror-structured characters. A writing system invented or remembered by someone inside the house. Here are the few lines Blackhall cryptographers successfully translated. Selected wall translations. It is not the house that is haunted. It is the shape of the family. The 5th has no voice, so we gave him ours. The spiral sings backwards when fed. We are only missing to the uninvited. The ritual was not a door. It was a keyhole. And now something is turning. On the nursery wall, one phrase repeated over 400 times, in different sizes. Emily is still humming. Final recording. Agent Weller, Volt Step team. The lone surviving operative, Agent Marcus Weller, left one audio recording. It was recovered from a shortwave transmitter clipped to his belt, still active when he was found 20 miles away, barefoot, speaking in circles. This is a transcript of his last intelligible words. It knew my name, not from a file, from before. It showed me a drawing I made when I was 6, but I burned that. In Glasgow. And still it had the ash. Static. The house isn't looking for people. It's looking for a song it forgot. And when it finds the child who knows it, it will walk again. Transmission ends. After this incident, the farmhouse was buried under a synthetic landslide via controlled demolition and soil collapse. The site was reclassified as an unmarked gas leak hazard zone. No one goes there now, not even Blackhall, not because it's dangerous, but because the house remembers names, and yours might already be on the wall. For decades, the Higgins story lay buried beneath silence and soil, until 2009, when something shifted. That year, a 43-second audio file began appearing on darknet channels, hidden in .zip folders, stashed inside abandoned torrents, sometimes disguised as harmless ringtone packs. Its file name, SNGH D awak3.wave. What's in the file? Those who've heard it describe a disorienting mixture of low-frequency ticking, mirroring the bone click pattern heard on Emily's tape, a child humming, off-rhythm, sometimes layered with reversed whispers. At the 31-second mark, an adult voice whispering in inverted phonemes, 1CT, Niaga Semok H, reversed. He comes again. It is now. But here's what stunned researchers. The waveform pattern of the humming perfectly matched the spectral imprint from Emily's 1965 tape, but shifted by 1.4 Hz. This wasn't a copy. It was an evolution. Global ripple events, post-2009. Shortly after the files spread, reports began surfacing globally of phenomena nearly identical to pre-disappearance, Higgins anomalies. 1. Skövde, Sweden, 2010. A 5-year-old girl vanished after speaking to a boy with her name but backward. Her baby monitor picked up humming not present in the room, analyzed and matched to the spiral tape Chapter 2. Cove, Ireland, 2012. Local choir director suffers psychotic episode. Claims the 5th note is wrong and it's pulling something open. He had composed a new lullaby 2 days earlier, based on a dream of a spiral staircase under the sea. Ipswich, England, 2015. Graffiti discovered under a condemned elementary school. We are not gone. We are mouth-shaped. Drawn in crayon. DNA analysis of the wax, non-human, the spiral symbol. Throughout these incidents, one motif returns again and again, a spiral composed of 5 intersecting arcs found etched into mirrors, bus stop windows, fingernails, a dog's coat, and once, a retinal scan of a patient with no known visual impairments. Black hole cryptographers believe this spiral is not just symbolic, it's mnemonic. A memory compressed into shape, like a glyph meant to unlock recognition in the subconscious. It may even be an audio-reactive key, triggering suppressed memory in those genetically or psychically linked to the Higgins line. Yes, that's still a thing. Who leaked the file? No one knows. But the leading theory, Emily. Her voice is unmistakable, older, tired, but present. Digital forensics show micro-fluctuations in the waveform consistent with analog to digital conversion from magnetic tape. Meaning, someone had access to the original reel and wanted it heard again. If you've come this far, it's time we ask the question Black Hole tried desperately to bury. What if you're not just learning the Higgins story? What if you're part of it, the destroyed genealogical map? In 1978, a low-ranking clerk in the Ministry of Information leaked 3 pages of a classified Black Hole document titled Operational Chart, Genetic Conduits of Subject H5. It contained a sprawling family tree, not of the Higgins family alone, but those who shared geomagnetic lineage. This wasn't about names. It was about resonance, a trait passed invisibly through DNA. Dream frequency, sensitivity, left-handed auditory processing, recurrence of spiral-based doodling before age 10, inability to hum in exact pitch with a group, yet matching harmonic overtones alone. These weren't random quirks. They were traits of the line. The 17 known surnames, Black Hole cross-reference parish records, phonetic mutations, and burial site alignments to isolate 17 surnames statistically overrepresented in resonance cluster zones, areas where unexplained signals, disappearances, and childhood anomalies were common. The surnames, officially redacted, were partially reconstructed through underground archivist work. Higgins, Ingram, Lath, Moreau, Deacon, Elnor, Sharon, Burke, Sinclair, Fenwick, Albright, Nash, Ellison, Wells, Thorne, Bexley, Singhid. Not a real name, but rather a marker. If your family name appears here, or close phonetic variants, you may be part of the H5 echo line. Phenomena among the line, anonymous reports submitted to the Spiral Archive, Esmeras 2008, describe consistent traits in descendants: recurring dreams of basements or locked doors, sudden unprovoked nosebleeds during humming, children singing unfamiliar songs in their sleep, animals going silent in your presence, especially birds, the sensation of being watched by your reflection, and in rare cases, finding Emily's lullaby scribbled in your own handwriting, even if you've never heard it before. The U-test, unofficial, created by ex-Black Hole researcher Larchglass 12. The following 3 questions are used to identify latent echo line traits. Have you ever known the tune to a song no one taught you? Do you sometimes hear your name whispered before you fall asleep? Have you ever looked at a childhood photo and felt it was someone else? If you answered yes to 2 or more, you may not be just reading this story, you may be remembering it. Because Emily never really vanished, not entirely. She left traces, in blood, in sound, in the line, and perhaps in you. For decades, the Higgins story seemed buried, in silence, secrecy, soil. But as 2025 approached, signals returned. Not just whispers. A clock. It began with the discovery of a sealed brass capsule beneath the former Higgins farmhouse site, unearthed during illegal excavation by a paranormal archaeology group known only as Group Sigma. Inside were 5 items: a broken silver locket containing a black and white spiral pattern, a scrap of cloth embroidered with the phrase, "Hold the hum inside the hour," a piece of human tooth, a charred diary page with the date, July 13th, 2025, 3:11 a.m. A tape reel labeled The Fifth Spiral. Why that date? Black hole mathematicians, yes, they had those, noted that 3:11 a.m. GMT on July 13th, 2025 marks the 60th anniversary, exact lunar phase match of the night Emily disappeared, a full alignment of 5 geomagnetic anomalies across former echo line sites, a rare Earth-Moon-Mars resonance echo last seen in 1844 when Wychwood's original chapel burned to the ground. This convergence forms what Eleanor Higgins once described in a torn research letter as a throat of time, a breath in the lay, the spiral pulse. Shortwave radio hobbyists across Europe, particularly in Scotland and northern France, have begun picking up a repeating audio signal every night at 3:11 a.m. Static, hum, 5 notes descending, child's giggle, silence, 3 knocks, and 1 word, low, barely audible, beneath the final tone. Again. Sound spectrograms of this pulse form a shape, a 5-armed spiral, same as those found on the Higgins walls in 1986, Emily's drawings, and the human retina when viewed under harmonic light. What is the 5th spiral? The 5th spiral is not a place, not even a moment. It is a recursion, a sound that repeats until remembered, a memory that loops until sung, a child that vanishes until found again. In one else's dream, voice, or blood. Eleanor believed each spiral event was not a haunting but an invitation. And this next one? It's the last. Because the spiral is closing, and what's inside has grown tired of waiting. The final warning. On the last page of Eleanor's coded journal, decoded by linguist Tessa Marsh in 2022, one sentence is written in mirror script, translated as, "When the 5th spiral hums and the name is known, let no one speak aloud at 3:11. It is not a time for answers. It is a time to be chosen." What now? If you've heard the hum, if you've seen the spiral in your dreams, if your child has started humming to something that's not there, don't try to stop it. Just listen. And remember, some lullabies are maps, and some maps were never meant to be followed alone. In the epilogue, Emily wasn't lost. She was sent. We uncover the final theory, that the ritual didn't fail. It succeeded. And what returned wasn't a girl. It was the first voice, singing the last lullaby. Would you like the epilogue? For decades, the prevailing theory was that the Higgins ritual had gone wrong, that Emily, the youngest, was somehow sacrificed, lost, or consumed by an ancient force. But what if that's not true? What if the ritual went exactly as planned? The ritual's purpose, a different translation, a recent reinterpretation of the original Higgins fragment, discovered in 1964 beneath a loose stone near the Wychwood well, changes everything. The line originally read, "The fifth shall fold and fall, the mouth shall close and feed." But in 2023, advanced linguistic inversion revealed a missing glyph, altering the meaning to, "The fifth shall open and fall, the mouth shall form and lead." It wasn't a containment spell. It was a summoning beacon. And Emily? She wasn't the target. She was the messenger. Emily as a conduit, numerous post-1965 spiral incidents, see Section 11, have contained one haunting similarity. Children across Europe and parts of Asia have reported meeting a quiet girl with yellow eyes who knows their name without asking, sings them a lullaby in a language they forgot, says only one phrase before vanishing. "I'm just showing you the way back." In 2018, a 9-year-old boy in Serbia was found humming Emily's exact 5-note sequence, despite having no known exposure to the case or its material. When asked where he heard it, he answered, "From the girl in the lake. She said she came from a farm that sleeps." Memory versus time. The deeper theory proposed by Dr. Hiram Wells, former Black Hole dissident, suggests that Emily wasn't taken into something, but out of time entirely. He wrote in a sealed letter, "She is not bound by chronology. She moves along the spiral, not across it. Each time a name is remembered, each time the lullaby is sung. Emily returns, one note at a time." This would explain the timelessness of her reappearances. No aging. Context. Just the song. Just the spiral. What was the ritual for? To send her ahead, into the spiral, to show us where it leads, to guide the next awakening. Think of it not as a sacrifice, but as a seed, planted in 1965, set to bloom when the spiral aligned. That moment is now. July 13th, 2025. 3:11 a.m., final coordinates. A final file, released anonymously by a self-proclaimed echo carrier in June 2025, was simply titled, "Meet Her, GPX." It contains a single GPS location in Wychwood Forest, and the timestamp 3:11 a.m., 13th July 2025. Next to it, one final message: "You already know the lullaby. Now it's time to sing it back." Final note: if you've heard the song, if you've dreamed the spiral, if the name Emily means something more than it should, then perhaps you're not a reader. You're a return point. Because she wasn't taken. She was sent for you. And now, she's coming back.